Hey everybody, Matthew from Captive Audience Comics here. So today we are going to be cleaning and pressing an X-Men 94. Okay, so let me show you what we got here. So this is actually a CPR book, so crack, press, resubmit. Okay, that's what CPR stands for. Customer brought it to us. We've already cracked it open, obviously, and put it in a regular bag. Nothing exciting about seeing us crack a slab. But this was a 3.0 blue label, okay? Now, this book has some fairly significant room for improvement. And I'm going to show you, well, you might even be able to see right from there why. This book is heavily water damaged or humidity damaged from the past, okay? So I'm gonna try to show you guys. See if I can get the light to show you. There, you kind of see there. Oh, there it is. Look at that. It is like a wrinkled dog. Okay, it is like super crazy wrinkled. One of the most wrinkled books I have seen in a while, and the wrinkles are like they're deep and they're like embedded. It almost feels to me like somebody basically did a quick press on it with the wrinkles, but like just to smooth the upper surface because parts of the paper are flat and it's just like constant divots all the way through it. Front and back. And unfortunately, you won't be able to see it on camera, but those wrinkles are like right through the book. Completely through the book. Front to back, all the way through. So we're going to dry clean this up, and I'm going to talk to you guys about how and what we would do to basically get the most we can out of the press that we're going to do. Okay, so first let's do a little dry cleaning. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the book and make a determination of what we think we can achieve. Okay, there's tape pull on the cover here. There is some dirt in here. Now, all of the sheen is off up here. You can take my word for it. If you feel that the paper doesn't feel smooth like a glossy would up here, you can tell that whatever water damage has caused this has really degraded the paper. On the back, you can see how the paper itself is like literally like has been falling apart. Like the surface just peeled away. Okay, so we're gonna have to be careful with that. There is some dirt obviously in here that is going to clean out nice. There's some dirt up here. There's a stain up in here. Actually, a stain. This is probably part of the old water stain. You can see here's a stain on the paper here, and you can see where the matching stain is. Same thing, stains up in here, matching stains in there. Okay. We're not doing any stain removal. We don't do stain removal. It's not that we don't know how to do stain removal, but to really make stain removal efficient, you need to use chemicals. There are some stains you can remove with distilled water. You can soak an area with a stain and you can blot it and pull out dirt. And that only works if that's like on the surface. If you have a stain, especially like an oily stain, it's soaked into the paper, it's not coming out with distilled water. You'd have to use chemicals, and that is going to lead to a potential purple label, which of course is what we're all trying to avoid. So what we're going to do is there's some dirt down the side here. So we are going to do just some light cleaning and pressing on the front and a little targeted on the back. And then see what we can do. Now, I'm just going to use a piece of absorbing sponge pad. And we're going to use this just to get any surface debris off of here, loose dust. Sometimes, especially when you have these covers where they've got these heavy divots in them, they like just collect this sort of like haziness on the cover. And we just want to make sure that we work that off before we start to do any other work, because you don't want to be rubbing that haze into the book. Okay. Same thing on the back. We're always working out towards the edges. You don't want to work an edge back and forth or in, obviously, because you pretty easily could catch a little lip of the paper and cause some damage to that. So we're just gonna do that. Okay. Let me grab a cleaning pad here, and we're just gonna give that a wipe over, pull up any extra material that's in there, any extra pieces left over on our mat. Okay, we're just gonna get that cleaned up now. Okay, so now the actual colored areas look pretty good. I'm not really seeing any damage in the color. I mean, we have missing paper, but I don't see any heavy dirt in here. Even in this area here, it looks pretty clean. So mostly on the front, it's edge and maybe a little bit in here. So let's bring over a couple of our erasers here. I'll try to stay out of the, keep my head out of the view of the camera here. Okay. So we just want just a couple spots in here where there's a little bit of light dirt. And this is not embedded in. There is still some gloss over here. So this is just stuff on the surface. Now, when you have a book where the gloss is in decent shape, but there's just little spot dirt, that doesn't mean that then you need to do every inch of that book. We want to obviously clean the dirt off where it is, but it doesn't mean you need to clean all the areas that are already clean. Now, sometimes, depending on the finish of a book, you may find that when you work in a given area that you're getting a trade-off of gloss loss versus cleaning. And sometimes you will be able to see where you cleaned. And then you got to make a decision of, do I leave it like that, or do I try to make it look a little more natural? So sometimes if you have to clean an area and you either inadvertently left some cleaning marks behind, or you accepted that there's a trade-off there, you may actually have to feather out that visible area. So if you clean an area and you lost some gloss in one area, you may actually have to feather that out and make that gloss fade away. So then you're actually going to take off some more gloss, but you're going to fade it out away. Kind of like, when you're painting and you're mixing colors, and as you get farther away from your center point, that color mixing changes. So you're blending. Basically, same idea, that you're actually blending the visual, whatever is causing you to be able to see where the work was done. You're blending that blemish outwards over a larger area, so it actually becomes less noticeable. It's tricky, and that's something that you only learn with practice of when you need to do that and when you couldn't. But we've had to do a couple of times very specific flaws that a book had where they accepted the trade-off, and then we had to feather that out to make it look not nearly as bad as it would have. Okay. For the white letters where the gloss is in decent shape, I like this to use my sponge for the very small lettering and just give that a go over. And then what I'll do is I'll take a look at it, and if there's a spot where there might be a little bit of dirt left behind, I'll use my Mono 01 mil brush, and I can eraser, and I can get right into that lettering. Sometimes you got to go through all the lettering. Sometimes, though, because of the way the dirt collected on the book, it's only in one section, so it's just on a case-by-case basis. Okay. Now this area over here, I'm going to use just a soft, little bit of soft gum eraser. Now, a lot of people will use a like a plastic ruler or something, right? And they'll put that up against that black line to make sure they don't get any color loss. So if that is something that is helpful to you, absolutely do that. What I like to do is I like to start with the larger eraser that I have in the wider areas. And then what I'll do is I'll go back with a smaller eraser right close to that line. Okay. But I like to use my larger eraser where I can first. Frankly, it's more efficient. Okay. You know, if you're cleaning large areas of a book with a small eraser, it takes so much time. Now we also have to be careful here because of the already gloss lost up here in this section of the book. Gotta be careful that we don't press the eraser too hard because we don't want to actually plop any more paper than has already been lost in this book. Okay. And some of this dirt is pretty deeply embedded in here, and we're not going to get it out. It's driven into the paper, and without using other methods, it's not going to come out. So we're just going to do the best we can with this book. We want to make sure that it's going to come back with a blue label, and fingers crossed, should get a good bump for the customer. I believe the customer picked this book up at a con. This, by the way, when we always say, people are always like saying, I'm sending a book to get graded, should I get it pressed first? I mean, the answer is always yes. Even if the book just needs a once over to look for any easy fix items, or to just fix a little corner or something like that, then it's always good to get, even if it's just like a pressed on first. But in a case like this, I mean, this book is going to be night day when it's done with all of that water damage. Now I have to be careful up here because this paper is basically falling apart. So we're just very, very lightly, just slowly touching that. And I don't even know if all that dirt's going to come out without taking the paper with it, but we're just going to give it some light work. We probably are going to lose a little bit of those surface fibers, but we don't want to take too much. And again, you'll note that I'm going to use my large eraser in various directions, and I'm going to do as much as I can with my large eraser, and then I'll come back afterwards with the smaller eraser so that I'm not spending all night cleaning these big areas with a teeny tiny eraser, which would be super boring for you guys. And if you're watching still to this point, we really appreciate it. Do make sure that you like our video and subscribe to our channel. It makes a huge difference with YouTube, the way the algorithms work now. They really monitor what I want to call it, client engagement, customer engagement, and that has to do with how long people watch the videos, do people interact with the videos, do they make comments, all that kind of stuff. That really is what drives the YouTube algorithms now. So we really appreciate that. We have to get up to 3,000 hours of watched video time from our subscribers before we can even start to do any kind of partnerships for monetization or anything like that. So we're working on it. We have the subscribers. That's no problem. We got the subscriber base, we got the video base, we got the content base. Now it's just a matter of getting the viewed hours up. So as you can see, I'm just working my way around the outside of the book first. I always like to do the outer sections first. There's usually most of the books have like a white border section around here. I like to clean all those up first before I head in and look at the other areas of the book. And a lot of times, this is where almost all of the dirt and grime accumulates anyways, on the surrounding edges of the books, especially the spine side, because that spine is a little bit higher than the rest of the book, and it acts almost like a dirt sponge. Whenever it rubs across anything, that's where that dirt will pick up. And then the reading edge tends to collect dirt right on the edge of the paper. And you'll notice that when I'm working on the actual edge, if I want to be able to see what's happening here, I'm always rubbing the eraser away from me, and that's so that I can take a look at the area that I'm working on and see when I've done what I can, because obviously we only want to erase as much as we need to. We don't want to do any extra. And always working towards the edges of the paper. As far as erasing direction and style, people say to always go in one direction, because then you're actually peeling off micro paper fibers, and if you go back and forth, you're moving the fibers back into the same spot. I think it really depends on the type of cleaning you're trying to do and the location. You're just gonna find whatever works best for you. Sometimes I do little circles, sometimes I go back and forth, sometimes I sideways, whatever. There's no right answer. Whatever works. Okay, so again, now we're getting back into that section where the paper has almost no protection. So we got to be careful, and we're really easing off on the pressure through there, knowing that we're not going to get everything off of that area, but we can't be wearing holes into the paper. So now I'm going to use the large eraser in a couple of these spots. Again, I'm not going right up to the inks or the color. I'm sort of going in the middle, and I'll go back and I'll pick up any spots where there's still going to be dirt or debris. This is, in my opinion, the most efficient way to clean a large area. Okay, in here, these raised areas where you can see there the dirt that's collected around that, and up here, that should come out pretty nice. And the paper in that area is in much better shape. So it can take a little bit of a more aggressive. Now, when I say aggressive, I don't mean like I'm wearing a hole through the paper, but it will allow me to use a little more pressure in that area and to get that those high spots in the paper where the dirt basically catches, and get those taken care of. So we're just going in through the open areas. I'm using the various edges of the eraser. As you use an eraser, obviously it's going to create edges and bevels, and then you can use those edges and bevels to get into various shaped spaces and get done what you need to do. Now this area up in here is in pretty good shape. Doesn't have a lot. It's got a couple spots where there's some dirt chunked in there, but it's actually not that bad. Sometimes you'll see with these books that the white areas are like completely like saturated with dirt, and that can be kind of a pain. It's just a matter of time. You just got to spend more time working on it. So now I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to use this. This is my 2mm eraser, and I'm going to get into these areas where it was a little too tight for my large eraser. And I'm not, like you'll see, I'm not trying to hit every single white space. I'm actually looking for areas where I can see that there is some dirt or debris, and I'm just pulling that up, getting a little closer to these black lines down here, a little closer to the lettering, In here, I'm going to use my mono 0 into those very tight spots in there. Getting closer to those black lines. Up into the top of these mailboxes. You can get right in there even with 2 mil. Okay. I think now we're going to get into our smallest brush, our mono 0 1 mil. Now, this one here, we're just looking to hit any areas, little teeny tight spots, especially down in the text. You'll get little areas in here, little collect dirt in between. Just want to hit those. In here, some really tiny spots they're going to be hard to see on camera, but we can use this to get right in there, like that. Help us get nice and close to this black line. And again, you shouldn't be pressing so hard that even if I'm doing this and I go over this black line, I'm not rubbing the black line off, right? You shouldn't be pressing so hard that if you accidentally, touch something, that's going to be the end of it. And then in here, we're just going to take the mono 0, and I like to go up the sides, nice and close here. Then I just like to go in here, pull off any extra dirt, okay? Now, the nice thing with these erasers is they'll actually collect, like the dirt will collect. Sometimes it doesn't just peel off like eraser shavings. The dirt will it'll collect on the eraser itself, and then you can, half the time, you can just pull it right off. Or you could rub the eraser off on some other piece. And we're just going in between this, getting the obvious dirt out. This is the same thing I would do in a UPC box. When you want to clean that up, I'd take the little mono 0 and work my way through that. So now, and there are a couple of spots in here. Those cleaned out. So this area right here used to have a pretty dark black line in it, which of course is gone. And up in here, that's gone. And overall, it's just, it's much cleaner. So now we're just going to see if we can take this little bit on this edge. We'll see if we can skim off. So basically, for the most part, this book is dry clean and it's ready for humidification and pressing. Now, humidification really depends on what you're trying to solve. Most books don't need a lot of humidification, okay? On a book with like a newsprint paper and a paper cover, I would say you want to humidify it until the cover just starts to get wavy, okay? And that's probably good enough. If you've got stubborn indents, you probably need some more humidity. You might have to put some humidity directly into the flaw. Like you might have to put a little extra moisture right into an indent before you rub it out. In a case like this, with a book that's this heavily indented, first of all, it's probably not going to come out in one press. And it's going to require a lot of humidity. This whole book is just like terribly pressed all the way through. So in a case like this, we're going to humidify this book much more than we normally would, to the point, not to the point where it's falling apart, but to the point where the book's going to feel like heavy, and it's going to want to it's going to curl over. And we're actually going to press this book flat first, the same way we would if we were fixing a spine roll. Because this, all these indents go all the way through the book, we're going to open this book up to the center, and we're going to be careful because you can actually see that it's pretty, well, with all the moisture in this book, no wonder it's a rusty staple, but then it's got one staple here that hasn't come through to the center page. Now, if the staples weren't so rusty, we would just loosen off these staples, and then we'd adjust them a little bit to the edges in order to grab some more paper. When they're this rusty, generally speaking, we won't do that, because if I try to straighten that staple, it could just snap. And then if I replace the staple, which I can, problem is now you're going to have a non-rusty staple in a book with staple stains, and that is like you might as well put an arrow pointing at first staple replaced to get a note on your book. So in this case, it's not fully detached, so it's going to be okay. It's only detached at one staple. But we're going to press this whole book flat. We're going to take this whole book after humidity, and we're going to put it in the press, and we're going to protect the spine, and we're going to gradually put pressure on it. And we're going to press this whole book out like this, okay? And then we're going to press it out, and that's going to help press through the center pages. And we're actually going to space heavier bond paper in between this book at various points. So we provide some stiffness inside the book under humidity when it presses to help press these out, okay? Once that's done, then we're going to reform the spine. And then we'll likely have to rehumidify it again with the reformed spine and then do another repress. And hopefully after that, we'll be in good shape. Worst case scenario, it might take another press or two, actually, sometimes, depending on how well the paper takes with the humidity being added to it. But structurally, the book is in good shape. And I think it will take the treatment required to make that better. And now the nice thing is that even though that staple is so rusty on the inside, it only has light rusting on the outside. The top one is just tarnished, which is actually pretty good. So there you go, guys. That is basic dry cleaning of a book that's heavily humidified. We will, after we've humidified the book and we've pressed it, everything like that, take some photos and we'll show them here for you. And so I hope you guys enjoyed that. And people have been telling us they love to see the cleaning content. I mean, obviously we don't film the pressing because it's super boring. You put a book in the press, you close it, and it's there for a certain period of time. But people are really enjoying the cleaning, and we're happy to do that for you guys and help anybody out. So hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you online soon.